Hola. So since we've been talking so much about direct object pronouns and indirect object pronouns, now we're going to bump it up a notch and we're going to talk about sentences that have double object pronouns. That's right, you guessed it. You can have sentences that have both a direct object pronoun and an indirect object pronoun together, and it's really cool. I'm sure you're excited. Let me show you what it's all about. The learning objectives are that you can name the indirect and direct object pronouns in Spanish. You should be checking that off your list already. We've done that. Correctly place the direct object pronouns and indirect object pronouns in sentences that use both. And that, my friend, is going to be the tricky part. So you can have a sentence with both a direct object pronoun and an indirect object pronoun. The indirect object pronoun shows to or for whom, remember, and the direct object pronoun shows what. So basically what we're doing is we're taking a sentence, and I'll show you an example of it in a minute, that takes a noun and replaces it with it or them, and then takes a person and replaces it with the indirect object pronoun for that person. So just quick review, the indirect object pronouns were me, te, le, nos, os, and les. And you see a little say there in parentheses, and I'm going to explain that in 1 minute. But as of now, you know the indirect object pronouns as me, te, le, nos, os, les. Remember, think gustar, because we learned them a long time ago with gustar. Me, te, le, nos, os, les. The direct object pronouns were lo, if it was a masculine and singular object, like el carro, we replaced with lo. La, if it was feminine and singular, la casa, la. And los, if it was plural and masculine, los libros, los. And las, feminine, plural. So las casas, we replaced with las. So now let's look at what happens when you have sentences that use both. Yo compro un carro para ti. So what did I buy? Un carro. So we would replace un carro with lo. And who did I buy it for? For tú, right? Because it says para ti. That means for you. So the indirect object pronoun that we're going to put in the sentence is te. So we're going to take the sentence, yo compro un carro para ti. I buy a car for you. And we're going to change it to yo te lo compro, which means I bought it for you. So we replaced un carro with it. I bought a car for you. I bought it for you. And instead of saying para ti, we say te. Notice the order of all those pronouns in the sentence. The indirect object pronoun comes first, then the direct object pronoun. Here's another example. Roberto da un lápiz a nosotros. What does he give us? Un lápiz. So lo. To whom does he give it? To us. So we use nos. Using the same rules as we just did in the previous example, we put the indirect object first, nos, and we put the direct object second, which is lo for the lápiz, and then the verb. So Roberto nos lo da. Robert gives it to us. Okay. Now, the thing is with these double object pronouns is that Spanish can be tricky. When you have the direct object pronoun of lo or la, and you have the indirect object pronoun of le or les, because for gives it to him or her, gives it to them, instead of using the le lo or les lo, they don't like the la 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 la, the two L's in a row. I think two L's in a row is bad. So two L's is bad. No two L's in a row. If you're doing these double object pronoun examples and you find that you have two pronouns with L's in a row, the le lo or les los las, les la, you change the first one to say. Se lo, se los, se la, and se las. That's why if you look back at this slide, down here, for the le, it says se, and for the les, it says se. Because if you have those next to a direct object pronoun, if you have le or les next to a direct object pronoun, it changes to se. Like I said, they don't like the le, la, la, lu, lu, all those L's next to each other. I don't know why. So here's an example. Ben compra una casa para su madre. What does he buy? Una casa, which is la. For whom does he buy it? Su madre, which would be le. But because we can't have Ben le la compra, because it's two L's in a row, the le for su madre changes to se. Ben se la compra. Ben buys it for her. The la being the casa, the se being the le for his mom. Here's some more examples. Esteban da una computadora a Adela. What does he give? A computer. So una computadora, which is feminine and singular. So we use the direct object pronoun la. Whom does he give it to? Adela, which would be le. So instead of saying Esteban le la da, we can't have the la 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 la. Esteban se la da. He gives it to her. Okay, and as usual, the direct object pronouns and indirect object pronouns can be tacked onto the end of unconjugated verbs and participles, like we've seen a billion times now. So if we're going to use a sentence or expression where the verb is not going to be conjugated, like this one, we put the indirect object pronoun and the direct object pronoun right together in the same order. The indirect comes first, then the direct, but then we smush it all onto the verb. So, ella va a comprárselo, or ella está comprándoselo. So the se is, oh, whoops, I forgot the sentence. Ella va a comprar un regalo para Miguel. For me, I have to do this even still. What is she going to buy? Un regalo. So lo, because el regalo is singular and masculine. So that's our lo. Who is she going to buy it for? Miguel, which is le, but we can't have lole or lelo, so we have to have se lo. Remember, always, 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 always put the indirect object pronoun first and then the direct object pronoun. Indirect object pronouns are those little guys with gustar. So, le for Miguel, lo for the present, changing le to se because it's too many L's next to each other. And then the verb comprar is left unconjugated because of the expression ir plus a plus the verb. So, va a comprárselo. And then the ella está comprándoselo, she is buying it for him. She is going to buy it for him. She is buying it for him. Notice when you have the infinitive with the double object pronouns at the end, or the participle, the ando, with the double object pronouns at the end, you put an accent over the a at the end, or whatever vowel it is, so that the emphasis is taken off the first vowel and onto the second. Now, you can also have affirmative commands. We are going to talk more about commands. Again, I know we learned them in Spanish 121. We're going to talk more about them next lesson in this chapter. But when you're telling somebody to do something, and out comes my affirmative, my command finger, with double object pronouns, you tack them onto the end of the command and also put an accent over the first vowel. Oh my gosh, there is so much to remember. So when making an affirmative formal or affirmative command while using the double object pronouns, the pronouns are attached to the end of the command and the accent is added over the stressed vowel, usually the first. So, cómpraselo, buy it for him. Dímela, tell me it. Dámela, give me it. You can imagine, although this sounds very complex, these kinds of expressions, these kind of commands are really common. Dámela, give it to me. Dímelo, tell me the answer. So that's how those work. Time to check yourself. Thank God. Can you name the indirect and indirect object pronouns in Spanish? Yes, I hope so. Can you correctly place the direct object pronouns and indirect object pronouns in sentences that use both? Remember, the indirect object pronoun comes first, and then the direct object pronoun. It only gets a little tricky if you have to tack them onto the end of the verb when there's expressions with unconjugated verbs and participles. So I think I've given you some stuff to think about, maybe. And always you can go to studyspanish.com for some more examples, more explanation, and always you can go to YouTube, Google, or go to YouTube and type in double object pronouns in Spanish, and there's some other people teaching on the same topic. Really, really good stuff. So don't feel overwhelmed. Ask me if you need help. Look for other resources if you need them. And I'm sure that in a few days you will have this like Adios.